So fast forward a couple of days into Las Vegas, we met one of Floyd Mayweather's like people from his camp. They just came to our booth. They're like, "Yo, we love your work. We want you to meet Floyd." I'm like, "There's no way this is real. Like, this is Las Vegas, my first trip there. We can't just believe anything that anyone tells us." Next thing you know, it's gonna be like The Hangover, right? We're gonna be in the middle of the desert with nothing to our names, right?
Word.
So we took the risk, we took the gamble. So okay, take us to his gym. And like for people who know, his gym is like in Chinatown. It's kind of like hidden away, like in a little back end plaza. So yeah, this is right before he fought Maidana for the second time. And I met him, my brother and me, we met him, and it was right before he was training. Like he was sweating, he was working out. It was crazy. I was starstruck to say the least. So I'm like, "Hey, Floyd, I'd love to get you a painting, but we fly out 2 days from now." He's like, "If you can get it to me tomorrow, I'll hang it up in my gym." I'm like, "There's no way. There's no way I can do like a 4-foot painting in like less than 12 hours." But I ended up doing the 4-foot painting and got it to him the next day. And then on our last day in Las Vegas, he's like, "Come back to our gym. There's someone I want you to meet." I'm like, "Who else could we possibly want to meet other than Floyd Mayweather at that time, right?" So we walk to the gym. There's this old business guy in a business suit, white hair, wrinkly skin. I'm like, "Who is this guy? He seems a little out of place." Because everyone here is working out, they're boxing, they're training, and it's Warren Buffett.
Welcome back to LeagueBiz. I'm your guy, Dennis Boateng. Today we have some amazing people. We got Jennifer and we got Rahmaan. Look, we got a creative and then we got a developer here. So it's gonna be a very interesting, a very dope conversation. Rahmaan, I wanna talk to you real quick.
Sure.
So your creativity on canvas, you depict moments of some of our favorite athletes. Where does that come from? When did that begin? What
So you want to know the whole story?
Yes,
right,
let's get into it.
Yeah, so for a lot of people that know me personally, like my mom taught me how to paint and sketch when I was like 5 years old. And honestly, like my whole life, like I'm 30 now, so like my whole life I just kind of stuck with it. But professionally, I've been doing art for like maybe 8.5 years. But yeah, just my whole life I've been painting, sketching. I was always known as that creative kid in school. It was like, oh, he can draw something if you need it, or he can paint something for you. So I kind of like stuck with it, and like given the background that I come from, it's not really common to be like a South Asian artist, but I kind of stuck with it, stuck with my guns, and fortunately, I'm here where I am today as a result of it.
No, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. I hope you get me on canvas one day. I mean,
I can do it tomorrow.
Oh, there we go. There we go. I like that.
Well,
I like
next
that.
There you go.
Jennifer, I mean, we talking about development, chief developer officer. That's nothing light, especially for USA basketball. You've been doing your thing too. Like I did my research, UNC, Chapel Hill legend. Being a developer is not easy, but how have you found yourself to be in this position? How have you been navigating?
Wow, it's been a long road. Persistence, the refusal to listen to the naysayers, because I was told that women, especially women of color, don't belong in this space. So I credit it to my actually just playing basketball. Sport teaches you so much. It teaches you to never give up. It teaches you about hard work, sacrifice. And so growing up, playing the sport really helped me focus in on what I wanted to do. I knew I never wanted to coach. I couldn't deal with 15 of me, but I knew I wanted to impact the game in another way. And I saw that from the administrative lens, specifically in fundraising, marketing, branding, and roles that weren't traditionally for women and women of color. You didn't see a lot of women of color raising money. And so I wanted to go that route to be able to show little brown and black girls that they can do that. They can go out there and raise money. They can lead departments. They can be executives, and they can be game changers. And so that's kind of what inspired me to stay this path.
Yeah. Was there anybody that you saw as an example in a place that kind of inspired you to be where you are today?
Yeah, I just talked about my mother. I saw her at a young age in corporate America doing amazing things in spaces where there were not people that looked like her. So from an early age, I was able to have that example, but then through the college realm, I was able to be strategic with where I wanted to work. I knew I wanted to be an athletic director. At one point, I knew I wanted to work externally, so I went and worked for a female AD at DePaul University in Chicago. Jean Lenny Ponsetto was the AD at that time. Ingrid Wicker McCree at North Carolina Central University, a historically Black college university, was able to look at her, and so representation matters, while I was in grad school. And seeing her take them from a Division II program to Division I, that was monumental for me as a young 20-year-old. So I've been strategic and intentional about surrounding myself in spaces where I can aspire to be in those roles.
That's amazing. You both mentioned your mothers.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, who doesn't love their mama?
Exactly.
You know? And you also mentioned, ADs and different coaches, but for you, was there anybody else that saw your gift, was like, let me
honestly,
give you an opportunity?
probably my dad.
Yeah.
Because historically speaking, because my background is, my parents are from Pakistan, so it's either you become, as most South Asians can relate, doctor, lawyer, engineer, or you run a business. But there's nothing about being a creative, being a painter, being an artist. It's always like, okay, you can have it as a hobby, but how are you gonna make money off of it? How are you gonna support yourself? And I'm like, you know what? Let's try to break the mold and try to do something different. So my parents, I'm very fortunate to have had parents that are like, whatever you wanna do, my dad especially, he's like, whatever you wanna do, make sure you put your full effort into it. Whether you wanna become a doctor, become a scientist, become an artist, or if you wanna clean bathrooms for a living, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, whatever you wanna do, put your full heart into it, or don't do it at all. He's like, it's better to try and fail at what you wanna do than to never try at all, right? So I think my parents were the biggest catalyst to support me in my journey, to kind of see where, it can pretty much take me, right? So I'm very lucky to have a very supportive family structure. And to this day, I still thank them every single day. But I think without the people closest to you supporting you, it does definitely make it harder to do what you do, right?
It's very true.
It's a culture of community.
For sure.
Which I think exists in the game of basketball, whether on the court or off the court, is like everybody's trying to look out for one another. But I want you to talk about something real quick, especially being an artist. It's still that connection of culture in the game of basketball. Van Vliet, what does that name mean?
Van Vliet, I mean, it's what he always says, bet on yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because I met Fred Van Vliet, and then Fred, if you're watching this, shout out to you. But I met him back when he was a rookie, undrafted. He had to prove everyone that he belongs in the league. And all these years later, he's still here performing at a very high level. So I met him back in I think 2014, 2015. And he wanted some artwork. He's like, I want some artwork. I don't know what I can do right now because I'm on a rookie salary. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me know when you're ready, right? So we'll talk. And we stayed in touch. I saw his journey to almost becoming a champion to being where he is now. And it's always that whole bet on yourself, whether it's basketball, arts, management, marketing, anything you do, whether it's a 9-to-5, a career path, or a hobby, you have to bet on yourself. Because if you can have the whole world believe in you, you can have your family and friends believe in you, but if you don't believe in yourself, then you're not going to get anywhere. You have to have that hunger and that hustle where it's like, whatever you want to do, just do it to your fullest, right?
Yeah.
And so 2018, he picked up a few paintings. We've been pretty good friends since then. And I was really kind of stressful that he might get traded last week, but he didn't get traded. So I'm like, he's staying in Toronto, which is good. But he's a great guy.
Good.
Yeah.
He spoke about betting on yourself. Jennifer, you see a lot of talent. You have a responsibility almost too, just to, have an eye for it, develop people who bet on themselves. What's the hardest thing that you had to navigate within that space with talent?
Wow, betting on yourself is key. I just wanted to go back to that. The hardest thing with that navigating, personally, I had to really come to age of knowing your value. I think sometimes as women, we don't understand the value we bring to spaces where we don't occupy. And because I did bet on myself and I knew what I brought to the table, I had to walk away from a place that was near to me because they didn't value me and what I brought to the organization. I think that you can't live in fear. You have to take calculated risks. And again, it goes back to betting on yourself, but I also tell people, know your value and add tax. Because at the end of the day, I'm like you, Rahmaan, I'm gonna always go all out. it's not, you're not half in. It's like when I'm locked in, I'm locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that I'm gonna give past what is expected of me on a day-to-day. So, you know your worth, add that tax, and it's okay to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, because if you bet on yourself, you know you're gonna be okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's amazing that you say that, because a lot of times we live in a culture where it's all about, pretty much taking what's yours. But if it ain't yours, sometimes people have a hard time walking away, especially if it has to do with your dream.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had those moments where it was just like tough walking away because it involves your dream?
Yeah, lived that almost 2 years ago. You work so hard to get somewhere, and it's hard showing up when you don't feel valued.
Mm-hmm.
And I think COVID really forced me to kind of step back and prioritize some things. And, I was like, I have to put my family. It has to be about my family. And I feel like if you do good work, people are gonna find you.
Mm-hmm.
While I knew that my time was coming to an end and that I was gonna fall back, I received a blessing, and I'm blessed to be able to work at USA Basketball. While it was hard to fall back on the other situation I was in, there was a blessing behind that. And I think sometimes we have to be okay being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
My coach always used to say, that's where you get to greatness. When you step out your comfort zone. Like, I'm a control, I like being in control, and sometimes it's hard to do that. So stepping out your comfort zone, releasing some control, and just giving it to God,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of, what my approach was. And then this blessing came. So that, it was like literally 2 years ago, I had to walk away from a situation, and I haven't looked back. It's just been up. What they say is up, it's up.
It's up.
That's how it goes. And kind of like adding to your point, where it's like you walk away from one situation, you kind of get blessed with another situation. I'm a big believer that sometimes the things in our life don't work out the way we want them to, because there's something bigger waiting for us around the corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we pray for the things that we want, but we also pray for what's best for us. And oftentimes the things that we don't expect to be good for us turn out to be the best thing that could ever happen to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that's a great story. That's amazing.
So let's talk about I heard a story.
Sure.
I heard a rumor.
Sure.
About somebody with some money Mayweather.
Yeah, that's
that's a culture. We gotta talk about it.
We have to talk about it.
Yeah.
So this, honestly, because this is back in 2015, back in like almost 8 years ago. So me and my brother had a clothing line. So that was my focus before the artwork. So we had a clothing line. We went to Las Vegas for a trade show called Agenda. You guys probably have heard of it.
Yeah.
So we were one of the I think 3 Canadian brands that were actually invited down, because we're like, okay, this is either going to be huge, or it's going to be a learning experience, or it's going to be an experience either way. So we're like, okay, look, we have to again bet on ourselves, put all of our money into it, and if we fail, we fail. If we win, we win. So we were only supposed to be there for 3 days for the weekend. We were there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So the clothing line was there, but we're like, how can we differentiate our booth with like something else? My brother's like, why don't we take your paintings? You have like 30 pieces at home. They're just sitting here. So at that point, I just kind of did art as a hobby. Like, take the paintings, set them up in the booth, and that'll just draw more attention, draw more people just naturally. So we took 30 paintings and we took about 200 t-shirts. We came back with like maybe 30 t-shirts and like 2 paintings. And then, like, not just from a money point of view, I'm like, okay, the money in the paintings is a lot more than the t-shirts, like for like in terms of like number of units, but like in terms of just like people connecting to the artwork, people connecting to the things that I make, I'm like, people love pop culture. People love, the cartoons, the superheroes, and they kind of relate to it in a very nostalgic way. So fast forward a couple of days into Las Vegas, we met one of Floyd Mayweather's like people from his camp. They just came to our booth. They're like, yo, we love your work. We want you to meet Floyd. I'm like, there's no way this is real. Like, this is Las Vegas, my first trip there. We can't just believe anything that anyone tells us. Next thing you know, it's gonna be like The Hangover, right? We're gonna be in the middle of the desert with nothing to our names, right?
Word.
So we took the risk, we took the gamble. So okay, take us to his gym. And like, for people who know, his gym is like in Chinatown. It's kind of like hidden away, like in a little back end plaza. So yeah, this is right before he fought Maidana for the second time. And I met him, my brother and me, we met him, and it was right before he was training. Like, he was sweating, he was working out. It was crazy. I was starstruck, to say the least. So I'm like, hey, Floyd, I'd love to get you a painting, but we fly out 2 days from now. He's like, if you can get it to me tomorrow, I'll hang it up in my gym. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way I can do like a 4-foot painting in like less than 12 hours. But I ended up doing the 4-foot painting and got it to him the next day. And then on our last day in Las Vegas, he's like, come back to our gym. There's someone I want you to meet. I'm like, who else could we possibly want to meet other than Floyd Mayweather at that time, right? So we walk to the gym. There's this old business guy in a business suit, white hair, wrinkly skin. I'm like, who is this guy? He seems a little out of place. Because everyone here is working out, they're boxing, they're training, and it's Warren Buffett. And I'm like, there's no way in hell, part of my language, there's no way we are standing right next to Warren Buffett and Floyd Mayweather. If there's a picture, because we had a few of our hats with us, like right before we left back to Canada. So I'm like, Mr. Buffett, would you like to try on one of our hats? And he's like, yeah, give me your hat, we'll take a picture of it. And there's a picture of Warren Buffett wearing one of our 5-panel snapback hats, and Floyd Mayweather holding our painting. So that was kind of like the catalyst of seeing where I can take the artwork, seeing who I can possibly work with, and the reach that I can get with it. And honestly, almost 8 years later, I'm very thankful that I stuck with it, and I saw the value in my worth, and like you said, added tax to it. And yeah, that was the catalyst that kind of launched everything for me.
Yeah. What were some of the emotions though? Because
I thought I was dreaming. I thought I'm like, this is not real. Just pinch me, wake me up, splash water on my face. But when I shook his hand, when I took the picture, and for anyone who doesn't believe me, it's all on my Instagram. I don't lie about anything,
Receipts.
but I have all the receipts, right?
Yeah.
But it was crazy. Like when we took the picture, when I posted it online, and then when people that didn't support the vision from a few years back, they're like, "Oh, we always knew you'd make it. You deserve it." I'm like, "Where was this? Where was this 2 months ago, right?"
Yeah.
You see a picture of me with Floyd Mayweather. Now you're trying to be best friends. I'm like, but that's kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah.
But it was a surreal experience until we got back to Canada. I'm like, this actually happened. But then we're like, okay, now where do we go from here? Do we just stay here, or do we kind of build off this momentum? And we're like, let's just go all in. And after that, I'm like, let's put the clothing to the side. Let's just focus on the artwork. Let's focus on the things that everyone loved the most. And again, 8 years later, here we are talking about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Basketball fans, what's going on? It's your guys, Denis Picks, the host of LeagueBiz, where we talk about the business of basketball. Look, all my college basketball fans, what up? I know it's that time of the year again. Teams are gearing up to start fighting their way through brackets for the title of champions, right? It's really about to get serious. So I've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, and right now, with a minimum deposit of $5, if your first bet loses, get a bonus bet back in the amount of your original bet up to $1,000. Sign up using my promo code BIZ, promo code BIZ BIZ. The crown is yours. Let's go.
Jennifer, did you believe that you would be where you are now?
You know what? I always did.
Yeah.
I've always had this confidence about me, not an arrogance, a confidence. I tell people it's okay to have a humble brag, but I always felt like I was going to be in a position to positively affect change.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to be famous or any of that, just to really give back and help people and just be genuinely connected with the community. And I'm always big on what you put out in the universe. It's going to come back to you twice-fold. And I focus on putting out good, because that's to me what it's about. With so much craziness in our society right now. So when you can, spread love, not to sound cliche, I think that's what I focus on. So I always knew I would be in a position of influence, so to speak, to be able to help others get to where, I am, because I didn't always see people, again, that looked like me in these positions. So I'm very focused on representation and being in places where, I need to disrupt some things because I want other people that look like me to be able to say, hey, if she's here, I can be here.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that you both have in common.
Yeah.
Of course, the fake love, but then also too the lack of representation. I think it's one of those things that you hear a lot, but that's why we're having this conversation. More people need to hear that you guys are the product of whatever happened, but if you believe in yourself, this is where you can be.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that you look forward to? Because, I heard LeBron broke the record, and then you put a, post up, you depicted that moment.
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you see as an artist that fans of basketball may not see in that moment?
Just the emotion behind each moment. Like, he broke the record, but like everyone was like hyped about it. But I'm like, how can we, I guess, immortalize this in a piece, right? So I made the painting. I had all of his career highlights kind of hidden in the backgrounds, like Easter eggs. I'm like, this is something that not only apart from the shot of him making the bucket, but this is gonna last for at least for me, like in my lifetime. That I made this painting as soon as history was made. Literally, like the night of, I'm like, I have to make the painting. I have to get on top of it. Otherwise, that opportunity is gonna be gone. Whether it's LeBron James hitting that bucket or like a new movie that comes out, anything pop culture kind of driven, was like it has a lot of attention right now. Has a lot of hype behind it. You have to jump on it. You have to have people connect with it in more than just a way where I'm just gonna watch the movie, but they connect in an emotional sense. They connect where it's like, I get where he's coming from. I get why he's making this piece, and it kind of sticks with them, right? Even after the moments happen, they go back to it and they're like, okay, yeah, this piece makes more sense now.
Yeah. That's good, man. I never even thought of it that way. So it's like, just wow.
Yeah.
But that night though,
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
when do you sleep?
I slept at 3 a.m. because I watched the game. I put my girls to sleep, and I'm like, I have to paint. If I wait till tomorrow, it's not going to be there.
Yeah.
That inspiration, that drive is not going to be there. So I pulled out the canvas, pulled out the paints, made a time lapse, and posted it the next day. I'm like, I had to do it. I was exhausted. I was beat, but I had to do it.
Sleepless nights for you?
I'm like, I have a 7 and a 2-year-old. A lot of sleepless nights.
Like, from a standpoint, because there's such a responsibility that comes with these positions of development. Like I feel like players rely on you. You were a player once yourself, so I feel like that mentality is still within you. Like, what are you telling these players? Even if you're like, I don't know if they're gonna, how do you deliver that?
Yeah, I tell people most athletes are gonna go pro in something other than their sport.
That's good.
That's a reality.
That's good.
It's facts on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have to have a plan. Even if you go pro, you're not gonna be a pro the rest of your life. So what are you doing to prepare yourself for your life after sport? A lot of athletes have what I call identity crisis because, and I had withdrawal after I finished. You've been an athlete for so many years. It's hard to not be in that space anymore. From the attention to the games to just people you're flocking, it's just hard to separate that. But you have to think about establishing your identity, your brand outside of that realm. And I tell people there's ways to still be relevant while not dribbling a ball. But you got to think about, what are you passionate about? I'm a teacher by nature. That's something I taught. I taught high school, I was in grad school. So me providing leadership training, helping people career map. A lot of athletes, what do you love outside of sport? Because we can take that passion and turn that into your purpose.
Yeah.
And so it's just having real conversations. I don't think when I was coming up as an athlete, people were having those conversations. It was like, you're gonna go pro, you're at the University of North Carolina, men's basketball, football, women's, this is what you're gonna do. Soccer, like you're gonna go play. But okay, you do that, what's next? Again, so being intentional while you're in college, while you're in the pros. I love that it's so much programming that's offered from the NBA, WNBA to help transition athletes to their next career. Because everything's in stages. You have your pro career, then you're gonna have your pro career in a different capacity. So it's understanding that and helping them see the resources that are available.
That's good.
Cool.
Were you?
No, because you nailed it. Because a lot of people think that this lasts forever. Even with me, like as an artist, I'm not gonna be able to paint for the rest of my life. Like I'm gonna eventually get arthritis in my wrist, right? So like you have to have that not a backup plan, just like a plan for the next chapter in your life, right? That's something that you're so passionate about. You still have a purpose for it, and that you're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. But yeah, like what you said was like, I think a lot of people needed to hear that 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, I wish some of my teammates probably
Exactly.
could have heard it. Yeah.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
We all know a lot of stories about people literally like, okay, it's time to.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to be a coach.
Yeah,
right?
hang it up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great to hear. I think that there's a lot of things that you guys are sharing that it's going to click with our viewers. I want to ask you about just leadership, as you mentioned. Um, is it hard for you to tell a young man or woman that's just like, I'm all ball, like, but they have a gift of leadership, especially in a society that we live in now where everything's trending, everything's social media, attention is just so short. How do you communicate that to them?
It's, you got to learn to speak their lingo.
Mhm.
You know, I think even though I'm not a coach, I always look at myself as a coach, it's in a different capacity. You got to know your personnel, because the way I speak to you, it may not be the way I can speak to you. So knowing how to effectively communicate with that person and say, hey, you know, you have to see something bigger and better. We just had an event where we spoke to elementary and middle school students. And I told them, you don't have to score all the points to be a leader. You can be impactful in other ways, but it's about knowing your role and perfecting that role to the best of your ability. I didn't score all the points, but my coaches still saw something in me where my teammates listened to me because I led with integrity, I led with grace and love. Those are all things that are teachable, but knowing your role. And that's something I try to instill when we talk to our youth, because everybody wants to go out there, be LeBron, you know, they want to, you know, put up the shots and score the points, but it's other ways to go out there and have impact.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's all gems right there. With you, how does leadership play a role in your industry or in your space?
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of what was just said, just kind of like connecting with your audience, connecting with the people that want to do the things that you're doing, but like in a different way, where it's like you can try to be an artist, you can try to be a creative, but you have to look at how does it work for you and how does it not work for you? Because what I do might not be your niche, what you do might not be for me. But like I think leadership is just like being open, having a positive line of communication. If anyone has questions, just, you know, answer them to the best of your ability, and just try to be a role model. You know, like I had an artist come up to me. They're a bit older than me. Like I stopped art 20 years ago, but because of what I've seen you do, I picked up a paintbrush again. I'm like, I did not intend on that, but like if my work is inspiring you to come back to being an artist, to being a creative, then I'll consider that a huge win. Over any deal, over any project, if I can connect with you on that, you know, perspective, then that's huge. So I think leadership also just comes down to just being open, being transparent, just having a connection with the people you work with, right?
Yeah.
Or the people that see you do your thing, just being, I don't know, just communicating, you know?
Yeah, no, that's good. I want to also ask too, I mean, Toronto.
Yeah.
You're a Raptor fan, right?
Oh, huge. I still can't believe they won the championship. And it's been like almost 4 years.
I was just telling someone that I think, I mean, the fan base is just insane.
Incredible.
Probably the most insane fan base I've ever seen.
Because the thing I tell everyone, you're not just getting a city, you're not just getting a province or state, you're getting a whole country behind you.
Yeah.
So if you come to Toronto, if you're playing for that team, you're Canadian royalty. Like Fred, he's Canadian indirectly, like for life. Anyone who's come and gone, like you're always gonna have a second home in Toronto. Whether it's the fan, the players, organization, it's a different type of, I don't know, it's a different type of machine over there. You don't see it that often.
Like I said, I've never seen it anywhere else. I wanted to ask you, like, what is the responsibility that you feel like you owe to your community, the fan base?
Yeah.
I mean, the ball club. What is that responsibility that you feel?
You can, I mean, if I can do it, and I'm no one special. So if I can do what I'm doing, just put the work in and you can get to wherever you want to be, right? Whether it's being creative or being, you know, an athlete or anything. And I think the biggest responsibility is not forgetting where you came from, not forgetting who you are, and just kind of giving back to your community however you can, whether it's your time, your talent, or any other capacity, and just being, I don't know, just being humble, being a decent person about it. So I've seen a lot of people in my own field that they get to a certain point in their career and they just completely lose the sense of who they are. So I think the biggest responsibility for your community especially is showing that you can do it, but don't let it change you, or don't let it like make you become a different person than who you are, right?
Yeah. Do you, Jennifer, feel like the same responsibility being from Detroit, but also, I mean, you've probably been around the whole world, you know, being a player, but also representing the USA team. That's a huge responsibility. Like, you know, do you feel the same or something similar to that?
Yeah, you know, you said a lot. I think staying true to yourself, to your core values. I never forget where I came from. And like you said, if I can be here, anyone. I'm from Southwest Detroit, BMF. That's where I'm from. And, you know, to be able to elevate and to use this game, my dad used to tell me, don't let basketball use you. You use it to get to where you need to be. And that stuck with me my entire life. And I've definitely used basketball to help me get to spaces where I don't think I would have seen. I've been all over the world because of a ball, a little orange ball, and have been able to inspire and impact people of all colors. You know, I remember when I left my position as an athletic director, having parents of student athletes, specifically our female student athletes, just thank me and tell me how grateful they were that I was there as their AD while their 4 years of school, so they could see a woman lead in that capacity. I don't think people understand the representation. It's so powerful.
It's huge.
And I don't want people to take that for granted because, you know, that's what inspired me, seeing women, and it wasn't a lot, but the ones I saw, I'm like, if they can persevere, I can do it. You know, the same with you. People don't always understand the creative space. I remember I had to go to bat to hire someone for creative content when I was athletic director. That's how you tell your story. That's the branding piece. And people don't really understand that. And you know, thinking outside the box, the creativity. So I respect I get the creative, and I'm like, I think it's so important to be able to help you tell that story, because that's how I raise money in development and work to bring and inspire people by telling that story.
Let's talk about that raising money though. That point right there, because not everyone can do it. You know, especially too, I want to ask you, what is it like being a Black woman raising money? I mean, what's it like? What are some of your experiences that you've faced?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I was told when I got into this, because I always knew I wanted to work on the external side. So again, marketing, fundraising, branding. And when I used to go to conferences, I would go in rooms where there were 300 plus people, but maybe 2 people that looked like me. And so being told that you should look at a different career path because you won't be successful because you're a woman of color. That just, you know, I'm a competitor by nature. So I'm like, okay, you telling me no? I'm gonna prove you wrong. And, you know, I tell people all the time, Black and brown women, we can raise money with the best of them. Because who are the student athletes majority? Black and brown. So,
that's right.
I mean, being able to connect with them, because when they go pro, and then being able to connect with all types of people, because donors aren't just a certain color.
That's true.
And I think the biggest thing is that being able to listen. That's to me been my biggest, I say my secret sauce. I'm a good listener. You know, I don't try to force people to give their money. I let them kind of tell me and listen to what inspires you, and I match that. So I've had some great success. I've done most of my fundraising at historically Black colleges and university, HBCUs, and limited resource institutions. And I tell people, if you can go there and raise money, you can raise money anywhere. And I'm grateful that USA Basketball saw that in me. Because again, if you do good work, good things will happen. People are gonna, just like, you know, you do good work, you're gonna shine.
Now, I know that, you know, you talked about just the creativity and doing what you're, and that person reaching out to you. I let you know you inspired them. What is it that you also do to inspire the younger generation who are like, yo, I'm a basketball fan, or I'm this athlete's fan, but I want to do what you do. I want to exist in that space.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just about just starting somewhere. You know, just pick up that pencil, pick up that paintbrush, and just give it a shot, right? My biggest thing is, and that was my biggest, I guess, hurdle that to overcome like early in my career. I'm like, how do I do it? Like, how do I get there? How do I get to that stage? How do I have my paintings in these galleries? Or how do I get these types of clients? You just have to keep doing it. You have to post on social media. I'm a big, huge fan of social media. It's my biggest weapon. Instagram, TikTok. Like, if you don't have those and you're trying to be like in the creative marketing field, I think you're just shooting yourself in the foot. My biggest thing is just put the work in, just keep trying every single day, practice, practice, practice. And like you said, like if you put in the work, you put in the honest effort, it will always pay off one way or another. I'm a big believer that hard work will never ever go unnoticed. It might not pay off today, it might not pay off tomorrow, it might not pay off next year, but if you're putting in that honest work, it will pay off eventually. And I think that's the biggest thing. People tend to give up a lot very quickly. I think it's just staying on course. It's just staying true to what you have to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. And that just kind of keeps fueling you on this journey, and it'll take you to the places you want to go. You just have to have that patience.
As you saying the keep going and going, that made me think about what you were speaking to with HBCUs as well. I mean, we know it's been out there too. Like we know what's going on, and we know that there's a lot of talent there, but sometimes they're just underfunded. I love HBCUs. My dream school was Howard.
Okay.
You know, the real HU.
The real HU.
Well, I want you to describe your experience there, though, just because I think people need to hear the beauty there, the talent, and what you saw being part of that.
Like, I tell people, making the decision to go to North Carolina Central University for grad school was probably the best decision of my life. I always wanted to go to an HBCU. You know, being from the Midwest, it's not a lot up there. And then I went to private school for high school, so we weren't pushed. And it was a really good basketball player, so I wasn't recruited by any HBCUs. But I knew for grad school, I was going, non-negotiable. And so went to North Carolina Central, and when I say that was my family, it was honestly one of just the experience. You know, I love Chapel Hill. I'm not knocking my undergrad experience. I'm so grateful for the sisterhood I had with my teammates, but I was able to experience something different. And being around people who look like you, who have understood the struggles that you may have encountered, who know how to uplift you. I was able to get some tangible work experience because it was such a small shop and lack of resources that helped me in my career. So going there, I met my husband, who was a student athlete there, but it helped me kind of focus on, I wanted to stay this track and work at HBCUs. I wanted to be able to provide those schools with the same type of experiences and opportunities I had at Chapel Hill, which is what I saw they weren't getting. And it had to do a lot with funding and resources, but also, you know, having better leadership. People who have been places, who have seen other things that can come back and pour and help elevate. And so that was where I kind of found my purpose. I talk a lot about, you know, purpose over praise. It wasn't always the most attractive thing. I remember when I left DePaul, a private Catholic institution with a huge endowment, to go to North Carolina A&T, people looked at me like I was crazy. And it was a lot of people that looked like me who looked at me like I was crazy. And so I'm like, you know, why not go back and pour what I've gotten, my experience, into a place that is producing some of the top Black and brown talent in the world. And so it's a beauty in HBCUs. You know, I love the exposure that they've been getting recently. I hope the funding will come, but that comes with having the right platforms in place to receive and the right people leading those institutions too. And
well, I think somebody be giving you a call. Somebody go give that call soon. Rahmaan, even with you being you know, a product of immigrants with your parents, I want you to talk about that. Like that responsibility, just like Jennifer talked about HBCUs. What is that responsibility that you feel there? with
Like,
being creative. And,
honestly, like it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, where it's like you come from this certain mold from your even your own people. It kind of puts you in this mold where it's like you have to be this or that, or there's nothing in between. I have cousins grew up where like you have to become a doctor, nothing else matters, and they're just I don't want to say it, but like they hate it now. I'm like I'm very thankful again that I had the parents and the family structure that I had. But I think the biggest thing is like staying true to, again, the purpose behind what you do, and like just how you can give back to the people in your community and inspire those that come after you, whether it's, you know, people that are younger than you, people that are older than you, people that just see you for genuinely being you, right? So yeah, I have, you know, a South Asian background, but I don't do the South Asian things. I've never been like part of that stereotypical mold, but I also like to make sure that I still have that connection to who I am as a, you know, as a Pakistani, as a South Asian, whether it's the music, the food, the culture, traveling back and forth, or actively being involved in the creative arts part of that community, show that, hey, your kids can be like me, but better, right? They can take me as like an inspiration, or they can take the artwork that I do, but they can put their own twist to it. And it doesn't have to be, you know, you have to become one thing or another. You can, why not be both?
yeah.
Like I think I have a client of mine, they're a doctor, but they recently picked up being an artist again. And simply because they've never tried it before. I'm like, you know what? You're never gonna know until you try, right? But yeah, I think the biggest thing with that is just, I don't know, just like having that responsibility to just be there for anyone who needs you to, right?
Yeah. That's good. I'm getting so much inspirations and things that I can apply even in my own life, like to be able to just kind of put my best foot forward,
Yeah.
inspire people who are watching, different things. Because the thing about LeagueBiz is mainly us just being able to give information to people who are looking for it.
Yeah.
You know, we had conversations before about people like, man, lack of information. I didn't have a place where I could go to
Yeah.
and hear a Jennifer or hear a Rahmaan.
I wish I had this like 6 years ago,
Man,
literally.
That's what I said when I was in school. I
Yeah.
wish, yes.
I mean, no, seriously, same. I mean, it's a blessing to be here.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's going on? Denis Picks, host of LeagueBiz here, where we talk about the business of basketball. And today I'm sitting here and proud to say that we are in partnership with DraftKings to be able to make this happen. Shout out to DraftKings for this amazing partnership. As you guys know, basketball season is in full effect. Ballers are balling, and what I do is make my picks when these guys are on the court. So today we're going to talk about a few matchups happening on March 1st. That being Cleveland versus Detroit, Charlotte versus Philadelphia, Golden State versus Toronto, Dallas versus Boston, Portland versus Memphis, we got Sacktown versus Minnesota, and Indiana versus New Orleans. So now when we look at Cleveland versus Detroit, there's no debate there. There's no room for any type of debate, because the only debate that anyone should be having is who Detroit needs to pick up when it comes to the draft next year, okay? Because Cleveland has been performing. I know I've down talked them a little bit, but they have a good thing going on. You know, on March 1st, when they play, I'm calling Cleveland with the win right there. So let's move on to Charlotte versus Philly. You know, one thing about Charlotte that's an ongoing joke is, like, you know, guys there are young, no structure, and you know, we see the memes online all the time, man. I think Charlotte definitely needs some vets in there, you know, to be able to make anything happen, but I don't see that happening this season. So that's that when it comes to Charlotte. Don't get me wrong, they got talented guys who are a little, you know, out there. But when it comes to Philly got great guys too. You know, they have a phenomenal superstar. Yes, there's some injury stuff going on there, but you know, I think Philly pulls out this win against Charlotte. I don't think there's anything that they need to necessarily worry about. Now, when we check out Golden State versus Toronto, that's a great matchup right there. So, you know, one thing about Golden State, they always find a way to win, no matter what their team look like. And that's the scary part about them, because they know how to change the pace, man, especially when it's getting close to playoffs and they want to, you know, they're going to do what they do. But are they gonna go all the way this year? No, I don't believe that. But I still believe that they're a very strong team. They're not a team to be slept on, right? That being Golden State. Now, when it comes to Toronto, they got some work to do. We got to get some pieces in there, right? For me, I'm gonna go ahead and say that win is going to go to Golden State. Don't argue with me, argue with your mama. Okay. Now we got Dallas versus Boston. That's a matchup right there that we got to talk about. Boston, number 1 in the East. You know, we know they got ballers, you know what I'm saying? And then with Dallas, 7th in the West, but they ball out. I mean, the record isn't that bad, you know what I'm saying? It's not that bad. It's pretty decent, you know what I'm saying? They could still climb up. They know how to cook. So there's going to be a great matchup. But I have to say, you know, I am choosing Boston to come out with this win just because they're a force. Not saying that Dallas isn't, but I believe Boston is going to pull out that win. Portland versus Memphis. We know that Memphis hasn't had the best season and Portland hasn't either. When we look at the standing, I believe Memphis is 13. And Portland is at 14th seed. So it's just one of those things where Portland is trying to find its footing. You know, they're rebuilding in a sense because they lost a great piece. As far as Memphis goes, I feel like a lot of people thought, hey, you know, we're going to have the whole band back. I know they lost some pieces on defense, but they felt like they were going to be okay, but they weren't. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to Portland. Sacktown versus Minnesota. I'm telling you right now, Minnesota's getting that win. What are we talking about here? Man, Minnesota is a team to be reckoned with, man. People slept on them, but sleep no more. You know what I'm saying? They are here. They're cooking. They're bringing the heat to the kitchen too. So if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. All right, let's move on to Indiana versus New Orleans. There's nothing to be talked about here. Though there are both 6 seeds on East and West, I believe that Indiana is going to kill it. They got the chemistry. They are really going at it. They've been having a great year. I'm picking Indiana here. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your guy, Denis Boateng. Those are my picks. A big shout out to DraftKings. Look, you guys are in the right place. I gave you my picks. Now it's time for y'all to go make yours. Peace.
But moving forward, like in the future, what do you think that us as a whole, as a community, creatives, developers, what do you think that we should do differently moving forward?
I think with this generation, I think we have to be truth tellers. I don't think we should sugarcoat this helicopter type parent, would you hear? I mean, we're parents, you know, we're all, you know, I think we have to be truthful to them. I felt that just working with our youth, they respect that. It may be hard to hear, but they'll respect that because these are the next generation of leaders. And we have to continue to pour into them. You know, and give them opportunities. Talk to them about things. Yes, they love their sports, but help them to see outside of that scope and know that, hey, you may play a sport, but there are so many opportunities within sport. You don't have to bounce the ball to impact it. You can be an artist. You can be a creative. You can be a journalist. You know, you can be a fundraiser. It's so many that you can be an executive, a CEO, and still affect change, but you also have to always pay it forward. Anyone I talk to, I say, don't get to the top and lose yourself. Like you tell you, and I've seen that. You always want to bring someone with you. Bring someone to the table with you. Drop names, be a champion. You know, you have champions and you have mentors. Mentors are going to teach you and walk you through things. A champion is going to drop your name when you're not in the room.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know, that's what we have to continue to be, the champion for this younger generation, champion for those who are aspiring to be where we're at. Because we can't mentor everybody.
Yeah, it's just about just bringing each other up.
Yeah.
There's enough to go around for everyone. Like, your success is my success. We're all happy, right? Like, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, it's such a cutthroat society we live in. It's like, I can only have it, you can't, but it's like, there's enough to go around for everyone. You know, like when you win, I win, when we all win, it's a beautiful thing, you know?
And I think you nailed it, your niche.
Yeah.
Finding your niche.
Yeah.
And blowing that out the water.
Yeah, just being essentially a trailblazer in what you do, right?
Yeah. But what do you think is causing that problem though? You know, because it's like, you always hope for the best, but what is it that's causing?
I think, honestly, like I just said, social media is my biggest tool, but it's also, I think, a lot of people's biggest cripple because, or crutch, sorry, not cripple, crutch, where it's like, they see everyone's success, but they don't see the, you know, the behind the scenes, the late nights, the failures, the things that didn't work out. They just see the good things. So when they see a lot of good things, they're like, well, my life isn't like that right now. So maybe I should just stop trying. It's like, no, that's when you actually dig down deeper. You're like, okay, well, if they can do it, again, like it doesn't come easy. Anything that's worth having in this world, you have to put that work in. You have to put that honest effort in and just stay committed. But I think social media just showing everything all at once, it makes people compare themselves too much. Whether it's beauty, whether it's money, cars, whatever the case may be. I think that's why you have to use it in a very healthy way, in a very structured way, where it helps build you up, it helps motivate you, but it doesn't try to bring anyone else down at the same time, right?
Yeah, and I just think people sometimes get scared.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about being the only one.
Yeah.
But you know, there is room for everybody to eat.
Yeah.
You know, it's just figuring out, and I tell people, you gotta go through hard times. Yeah. You're not gonna be a success. You can't have a test without testimony. You know, yes, you know, so you have to weather the storm, because I feel like when you come out, it's just gonna make you stronger. And we talk like, I just remember going through COVID and I was dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-olds and, you know, making sure, checking on their mental health. Because it's hard when you have to be isolated from people and you can't do the things you're used to doing. So, but I used to tell them, hey, y'all gonna come out stronger than this. I know as a leader, I came out stronger. And more thoughtful and intentional about my purpose. You know, so those are things like you can't have a testimony without that test.
You got to go through it to get through it.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
Yeah.
And you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it.
I mean, even you just talking about COVID, like, or that moment where everyone is isolated. I couldn't imagine being a kid whose dream is basketball and being indoors, like,
can't play.
But then you have to be ready to be able to encourage them. And where were you pulling the encouragement from?
It was, honestly, I tell people, again, being a student athlete, it just taught me so much. And I was pregnant during COVID. So it was another layer, but, you know, just making sure I kept them motivated, because a lot of my student athletes at the time, they weren't local. I had a lot of international kids, and I was really worried about them because they couldn't get back home.
Oh, man.
And so just pouring into them, knowing that, hey, I'm a phone call away, being transparent, not lying or sugarcoating to them, because kids know how to get to the truth now. It's smart. Social media, they know how to figure it out. So again, being honest, letting them know, hey, my door's open, knowing we have services. If you need somebody virtually to talk to, because that mental health, that was something I think that's when everybody keened in on, making sure you have people available to service our students, anybody from a mental health capacity. Yeah.
And I would also, like, even on the mental health tip, just how important it is as an athlete, but also as an artist. I feel like they're very similar things, whether you're working on your crossover or you're working on the stroke of your paintbrush. How was it for you during that time?
COVID, it's kind of weird. It's like the opposite for me for COVID, because I was just trapped in my studio with my wife and kids at home. So I'm like, we're not going anywhere. We have no family or friends coming over, so I'm just gonna paint. I'm just gonna paint, do as many time lapses, because I kind of took that time to really just add to what I already know, to watch videos, to learn more about what I can do to better my craft. And again, just kind of reaching out to anyone that just needed, you know, a conversation. Say, hey, like, I'm painting all night, but if you want to call me, I can get on a Skype call or FaceTime. let's just talk, right? Because with me, like painting it's my career, but it's also my escape at the same time. And it's just my way of kind of breaking free, just kind of escaping from like the everyday craziness of having a wife and 2 kids under the age of 3. It's just like it's nice therapy for me at the same time. I can just talk to myself in my head. I can talk to myself while I'm painting. I can just kind of be lost in my own zone, right? And if anyone else needed it, I'm like, hey, just come over. Oh, well, you can't come over, but like call me and we can just, have a FaceTime session while I'm painting. And sometimes when people watch me paint, they're like, it's soothing, it's kind of relaxing because you're just watching something from nothing, right before your very own eyes, right?
Oh man, we might have a therapist here or something.
Hey,
I
can do some live paintings.
I'm like, I need to pick up a paintbrush because
Right?
I was picking up my Amazon apps,
just ordering away.
Ordering away.
You don't need therapy puppies. You just need a therapy artist.
Yeah, no, facts. I think I've seen too, like on your social media with like basketball players like Ibaka and different people just watching you paint. I mean, what's that like?
It's kind of surreal because it's not just just a random person that watching paint. It's someone that you've watched on TV every single day. It's like, okay, they're watching me do my craft now. It's like the roles are kind of reversed, and they're seeing something that not everyone sees every day. Like you often see the painting or the mural, but you don't see like the beginning to end process and everything in between. So I think painting live for an audience, painting live online, it just allows for a better appreciation of the craft. It also allows people to kind of get lost in like a 5-minute, 10-minute video where it's like, how did they do this? Or how did this blank canvas become this fully detailed portrait? But then it's just all in the work you put into it, right? Just like, how do you become a great basketball player? It's all in the work. It's all in the commitment. So I think it was kind of cool having Serge Ibaka watch me paint live, because I'm like, it's kind of, now you're watching me do my thing when I usually watch you do your thing. So it was nice.
Yeah. Now I found a beautiful metaphor in what you were saying, relating to basketball, like, and what she does, because you see your painting and you, from beginning to end, where everybody like sees the art piece, you see these players like, and I know like a lot of times the public sees like, oh my gosh, this kid is phenomenal, and but you see the things that we don't see.
Right. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you do see that the public doesn't?
I mean, like you said, you see the hard work.
Yeah.
There's a process to get to that superstar level or that finished product. You don't see the 5 a.m. workouts. You don't see the 2 or 3 a days. You don't see the trying to fit in homework, your academic, and then go, to pick up. So I think what I get the beauty of is seeing the process and all come together. When you see someone start off, playing 10 and under, and they're terrible, but to see them in that next year, to see the growth. Oh, now you can rebound and run down without, the court, like it's just to see, or, shoot a layup, to dunk a basketball. That takes some practice. You don't see the plyometric drills, the jump roping, the nutritionists, social media training, media training. It's a lot that you see the polished, finished product, but to see all of it come together, that's the beauty. Like when you're painting, see it all come together.
It's like that phrase where it's like, it's not the destination, it's the journey, right?
It's the journey.
The journey is like, when you look back on it, you're like, you loved every bit of it, especially the parts that you hated the most.
Yeah.
Like you're working, you're not seeing the results, but you just gotta keep going. Yeah, you have to keep going.
Yeah.
It's like Finding Nemo, you just keep swimming, right? Just keep swimming. But no, again, basketball, art, anything, like even like the cameras, like filmmaking, anything you do, like you just have to keep grinding at it. Like you have to have that patience to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what are some of the advice that was passed to you as you were on your journey off the court that you passed down to kids that are on the court right now that want to be that superstar?
Yeah, I just spoke to a group, and I tell them, my coach always used to say the 6 Ps. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. That's something I still use to this day. I feel like if you put the effort in, you study, you adequately prepare, you're not gonna fail. But you gotta put the work in. That's the common thing that keeps coming in.
Exactly.
It's not gonna just happen.
Yeah.
You gotta put the work in. So the 6 Ps, proper prior planning prevents poor performance.
That's a tongue twister.
I know, right?
I was gonna say,
that.
he's
writing it
down.
To counting on my phone, say that's wow. No,
Nah.
it's true though. It comes back to the same thing. You just have to keep putting in that work, and then you'll see the results eventually.
Yeah. Now, the work ethic is definitely important. I mean, once again, talking about social media, we see a lot on there. Even people who want to be involved in the game, they are watching what other people are doing. They think it's so easy.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I already made it. They're already like coining themselves being, you know, the expert of this, that, and the third. Which, by the way, I gotta ask you, when you see some of these trainers on social media, we gotta talk about this.
Trainers want to be like head coaches and think they like the administrator. Like you haven't lived it.
Yeah.
It's easy to say what you would have done, but if you're not in the situation or you're not out there, like it's just.
Yeah.
But you have to really do your homework on a lot of people out there because I think social media is a gift and a curse.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you have to make sure people are valid.
Yeah.
I get reached out on social media all the time, and I'm like, you know, is this person like a creep? Like, well, you know, you got to do your homework because you just never know. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, especially, with both of you guys' positions and having access to so many talented people, I'm sure the DMs are crazy. The questions,
DMs popping.
Oh, it's all about intentions too, right? Like, why are you messaging me? But also when I'm messaging you, what are my intentions? Like, why do I want to work with you? Is it? It can't just be about the money. Can't just be about the exposure. Like, is there something like more of a deeper connection, right? I think if your intentions are in the right place, people will see it, right? But if not, then we see the creepy messages. We see the weird DMs. But again, like you said, it's a gift and a curse, right? So you have to be very careful with that.
Yeah.
What are some of the stories that you guys have experienced as far as like, now I'm gonna move for the DMs. I'm moving for the DMs.
I was like,
no. Just like for you, like, you know, kids coming and thinking like, oh yeah, I got it, like, and then they soon find out.
Don't have it. They don't have it. You know, you see in this day and age, it's so different.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody thinks because the media, like NIL deals are now in high school.
Yeah.
So it's a different beast right now. Like people are playing basketball starting, my daughter's 7 and she's in the Y League, but people are taking it so, like I didn't play till 6th grade. I think the stakes are a lot higher. People see what these NIL deals look like. They see what these scholarships, we're going to the pro. It's the opportunity. So when you see someone come in and think they know it, I just tell people, there's some kid, I say, you gotta be coachable.
Yeah.
You gotta remain coachable. That's something that's gonna carry you far in life. Being able to adapt. I always talk about flex and pivot. You gotta be able to flex and pivot and be a lifelong learner. No one knows it all. I tell people all the time, like, you may think you got the skills, but if your attitude and you don't have it up here, the mental, you're not gonna last. And I think that's where you see your elite players, that IQ. That's what separates. Like, if someone can be super athletic, but where they have that mental toughness and that basketball IQ, that's what takes them to superstardom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because another thing too is like, with the place where you're at, I think the expectations, when you talk about Kobe and KD and Bron, CP3, all these guys that have come through and represented USA, you got all these kids who just want to be that.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you see with the pressure that these kids go through, and you know?
Yeah. Again, it's starting so much earlier. And I tell people all the time, if you're not having fun, you don't do it. You know, when basketball stops becoming fun, it's time to let it go. Anything,
same thing.
with art, because you can't. And I just spoke to my daughter's 7-year-old YMCA team. And I told them, like, that was the question. They said, well, did you have fun playing? I had a blast. And that helps you get through the hard times. You know, the fun, being around your team. So when you stop having fun and everything is like a business real young, that's too much. And I talk to parents a lot, don't put that pressure on your kids. Because when you get to college, it's gonna be pressure, it's a business. But while you're in high school, junior high, it should be fun. And I think kids, because the stakes are higher when it comes to money, money's involved, these deals, parents are seeing that. And again, it goes back to vetting who's on your team. You gotta have the right people surrounding you. And you have people now that will latch on because they think that's gonna be the next LeBron, that's gonna be the next Diana Taurasi. You know, that's gonna be the next, you know, Cheryl Miller. Like, they latch on to people. And so you have to be careful with who's in your camp. You know, keeping good people around you. Yeah.
Do you experience the pressures of being an artist and being connected to, you know, people of influence as well?
Yeah, I think the biggest pressure is just kind of staying consistent. Where say, okay, I'm doing something cool now, but like, am I gonna keep building off of that tomorrow, or am I just gonna stay stagnant about it? But yeah, it's again, surround yourself with people that keep lifting you up. It's like, hey, like my wife's my biggest, you know, support system, to say the least. Like, but she knows I'm here for this trip, and she knows like all the projects that I work on, the clients that I have. But she's like, you ain't shit. Yeah, she's like, you're up here, but like, I'm gonna keep you like grounded because like you're great, you're good at what you do, but like this is just the beginning. Like, keep your head on your shoulders and like just keep doing what you're doing, because you don't want to get to that point on top of Mount Everest and you're just like a completely different person, right? So I think just staying surrounded by the right people to keep you grounded, keep you in line, and like also like, hey, yeah, you're doing great and we love you. And because that goes a long way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no,
the right people goes a long way for sure.
Well, guys, I want to thank y'all so much. Like, this has been such a fun conversation. Jennifer, you're doing your thing. Rahmaan, you're doing your thing as well. Keep painting, keep developing, and raising money for these kids in the game of basketball. Yeah, so thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
It's been LeagueBiz.
Thank you for having us.
So yeah, peace.
So I don't know, how was that?
Was that